storytelling.com. You can also find the podcast Chatterpod there. Next week's theme is Unlucky in Love. So, for Valentine's Day, just come and tell us some awkward or really bad, love stories. It sounds like fun time. I'm going to introduce our next storyteller who has empowered me personally on many occasions. He is a great personal friend of mine. You know him as the co-host of Chatterbox. He's a really swell guy. Please, guys, give your hands together for Estevan.
I can honestly say that was the first time that I was called swell, and I really like it, and I hope it continues. So keep that in mind next time you see me, guys. Just throw swell out there. Woo! So, in going along with tradition and my style of storytelling, I don't really prepare anything, and that's something I've learned about myself through storytelling, and one of the many things I've learned about storytelling over the years, as if I've been doing this over the year that I've been doing it, over the months, I should say. So about this time last year, I told my first story here at Chatterbox. And when I first started coming to this show, I was going through a rough spot where I wasn't feeling inspired. I wasn't feeling empowered to do much. I was hanging out at home, not really doing anything, starting to turn back and revert back into my introverted ways. And shortly after a breakup occurred as well, one of my friends, she's not here tonight, but my friend Alexis said, "Hey, I think you would really get a lot from this storytelling show." And I said, "All right, neat." And so she brought me out here to Phoenix, and we came in here, and I had no idea what to expect. I didn't even know storytelling was a thing here locally in Phoenix. And so I heard a few of our regular storytellers speak for the first time, and it blew my mind. For how comfortable they were on the stage, how much they had to share, and I'm getting used to the camera. This is neat. What they had to say and how they said it. And one of the things I took away that night was, this is what I want to do. I love the concept. I love the idea. I'm so glad that Alexis introduced me to this and brought me here. And so I came out a few more weeks, and I hadn't told a story. And then one night, Jessie came up to me, threw the pen down in front of me, and goes, "You're signing up to tell a story." And just like with Alexis, I went, "Okay, neat." And that night, I started panicking, and my friend Sean was here with me. And I said, "I don't have a story for," I believe the theme that night was starting over, or new beginnings. And so I started sweating, and I was like, "I don't have a story." And Sean goes, "You have one of the most amazing new beginning stories I've ever heard." And so I got up that night, got up the courage, and I was cottonmouth. I didn't know what to say. There was a lot of ums. There was a lot of stammering. But I powered through my story, and you can listen to it on the podcast. Another pro pitch for that show. Get on there. About my car accident. And including this past January, it's been 5 years since I broke my leg, I broke my back, I had to relearn how to walk all over again, and I had to pull myself up and do that. And that is when I learned one of my first hard lessons about storytelling, as I was up here floundering, got a little bit of ADD, so I'm looking around like, who's moving, who's paying attention, what's going on? And I ended up meeting Nicole's eyes that night for the first time, and I realized what helped me so much as a storyteller was just focusing on one person. There's one person in the audience that's really like probably getting something from my story right now, feel a little bit of a connection. Just tell my story to this one person. Everybody kind of faded out for a little bit, and I started telling my story to Nicole, and then took a deep breath and went, now everybody's looking at me. This is kind of neat. Now I'm having a connection with the whole room. And that's when I learned my second lesson about storytelling, that it's not necessarily about how eloquent you are. It's not necessarily about what you're up here to say. It's not necessarily about the story, because there's many different ways to tell the same story. With my car accident specifically, I could talk about all the funny moments, like being on morphine at 3 a.m. and the nurses coming by and me going, "You're the most beautiful person I've ever seen." And they go, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And then I went, I could talk about how much I was sweating every day, wondering when and if I was going to get out of there. I could talk about the really tough times mentally when I was the only one rooting for myself on days where people told me what I could and could not do. And inside my head, I was going, yeah, but I haven't tried yet. So how can you say I can't do it when we haven't even gotten there yet? So I've got this. And so it's a little bit motivational, empowering story. And it really just depends on the mood you're in, what you're experiencing at the time. That really starts to stand out in what you have to say and the message that comes across in your story. And that's when I learned my third lesson in storytelling, which is that sometimes you come up here with an idea in your head, or you wrote out your story and you did a lot to prepare, and then you start talking and things start happening in your head where you start going, but no, what about this? What about this? And you just let the ideas flow and let it come out of your mouth. And what ends up happening is a little bit of just magic. And that's when I learned my fourth lesson about storytelling. It's moments like this where everybody's silent and getting to listen to what you have to say. And sometimes in our heads, we think coming up and doing a storytelling show, an open mic, that it's about the laughter. We get a little bit of that idea in our head from stand-up comedy, or those reactions, or those heavy sighs, or people are crying, or whatever. But I've learned that storytelling is the only thing, aside from going to class, but the only thing where silence really means that you're doing a decent job at just conveying a message or a story. And storytellers live for this moment, like right now. And I just get to exist here with you and share this moment and tell my story. And I really love and appreciate this. Then after that night, I finished up my story. I sat down, wiped a little sweat off my brow, and went, I was so worried how that came off. And then I got a couple of messages in my inbox from friends who heard the story that night, said, "You did a great job." And I'm like, "You have to say that. You're my friend." And then I got a message from Nicole later. It was on the Facebook post, "We had a great show tonight. Thanks for everybody for coming out." And then Nicole posted, "Thank you, Estevan, for sharing your story." And for me, that was like, whoa, I really did have a connection through what I had to say with somebody, and it meant something that night. And I was really grateful for that. So I came back the next week and the next week. And then eventually Jessie said, "You've been coming back and you've been sharing a lot of stories. How about you think about hosting?" And I was like, "I've never hosted a thing ever, and I'm really socially awkward, actually, and I don't know." And she's like, "I think you'll do great." And I was like, "Okay, neat." And I had that epiphany again. So I came up here and I started doing the thing. And for a while, I was really apologetic. For about 6 months, I would come up here and be like, "Sorry, I'm the socially awkward co-host." And then multiple people, it wasn't just Jessie, pulled me aside and said, "You really need to stop saying that because you're not coming off that way at all." And I was like, "Oh, okay, neat." So then I started doing, okay, well, we have Chatterbox. What other shows are out there? And Jessie's like, this one, this one, this one, this one. And I was like, I didn't know there were multiple shows. So I started tagging along to some of the events that she would go to, and she would tell a story. And then I started signing up for other shows. And then some nights we would meet at other shows, not even knowing we were going to be telling a story that night. And ever since then, storytelling in and of itself has transferred so much into my life, this self-confidence that I've built up over the last year. To be able to go take this to work, for example, and go up and from being open and honest up here with all of you, going to work and being open and honest and being transparent with, "Hey, I do a lot here. How about a raise?" And they were like, "Well, you feel really strongly about it." So we'll think about it. You know what? No, that's not good enough. I don't want to think about it. I want to, yes, this is going to happen. And so even with work, even with areas in my personal life where I'm like, you know what? I'm on this track now. I'm getting into practice of at least once a week being open and honest with a whole group of people. Why can't I be open and honest with my friends? And so starting to do that, and then people are learning things that I've kept inside and held on to for so long that they're like, wow, you're still pissed that I stole your cookie from like 4 years ago? Well, yeah, man. Sorry, I didn't say anything sooner, and that's a really weird thing to hold on to for years, but it was important to me, damn it. But I'm so thankful that one friend brought me out here to see the show for the first time. I'm so glad that another new friend inspired me to get up here and tell a story. I'm so glad that another friend that I made helped me to feel empowered and feel like my message was being heard. I'm so glad that Jessie invited me to be a part of it all, and I'm so glad that I got to experience all of this with you and to be so warmly welcomed and received up here on this stage. And it really means a lot. And I know even if we only affect one person's life by doing this show and coming up here and doing this every week, that it'll be worth it to us all. And so thank you very much for being here with me. Thank you so much for welcoming me into the community. And thanks for the stories, guys. And if you took anything away from my story, it's that I say, okay, neat a lot. So, okay, neat. Help me welcome our next storyteller, who's frankly getting sick of my long introductions. But tonight is no exception. Please help me welcome the hostess with the mostest, the reason why we are all here, the best storyteller I've ever had the privilege of working next to and learning from. Please help me welcome Jessie.
Yeah, Chatterbox. Guys, I love Wednesdays. Like, way to take a shitty day of the week and make it awesome. Yeah. Because what else happens on Wednesdays? Nothing. I love you. I tell a lot of stories. I feel like I've told all of my stories at this show, so you guys have heard a lot of my life. I'm not sorry about that. I'm holding my hands behind my back because it seems less awkward. I feel like Ricky Bobby. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's happening. Everyone has said it, and I feel like you're going to listen to the podcast. They're going to be like, what the fuck is happening? We can't hold the mic. It's sensitive. Like I mentioned earlier, I am also sensitive. And I think I'm really still coming to terms with who I am completely. That sounded way deeper than it is, really, guys. Promise. But a little less than a year ago now, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And it feels weird to just like own it. And this is the third story I've told about it, and I'm still like saying it out loud doesn't make it easier. And I'm learning that. I think it's because I want to be normal. And what is normal, really? But I think that, I got to a really good place with it a few months ago. I think fall of last year, I told a story at a different storytelling show. And all my people were there, which is the best feeling when you go to a show and you're rolling 11 people deep of people that give a shit about you. It's awesome. Feels great. They took up a whole row. I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. And they stayed the whole time, and other people left and my people were there. But I shared a story about being diagnosed and finding a doctor and that whole fucking process and how horrible it is to find help for mental health. It's just a garbage process. Thanks America for fucking that one up. But it's hard, and it makes it even harder. I'm already having a hard time and you're making it worse. And I think that's something I'm still kind of coming to terms with. I'm bitter about it. I pay $50 to see my psychiatrist, and I want to pay no dollars for that. It should be free, right? That's not how it works. Then you have to pay for the medication to make yourself okay. I don't know. I work at a nonprofit. I'm not rich. And